The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
You know the name Doug Poppa? Yes, I do. God bless Doug Poppa, an honest cop.
He was a man of integrity. His testimony last summer freed an innocent man from jail who had already been convicted of shooting his ex-wife. But Poppa's going public cost him his job as an undercover cop.
I was elated, of course, but then as he testified, I was somewhat concerned for him, because I knew that they were probably going to crucify that man.
Sometimes the truth has a price. That may be the lesson of a Virginia police officer who says, in trying to do the right thing, he ended up paying for it.
The message you're sending is, see, we did it, Doug. You don't come out, you don't buck the system. No matter what the reason is, you just can basically keep your mouth shut. But if I wouldn't do it all over again, I would take the badge and I would leave it on somebody's desk and get out of police work. Because the day I can't tell the truth because somebody's pressuring me, and the day the system doesn't want me to tell the truth because somebody's pressuring me, is the day I'd leave the badge on the desk and walk away.
Poppa was fired for insubordination. One man who confronted truth and consequences.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Truth and Consequences podcast from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Doug Poppa, former law enforcement officer, criminal investigator, independent investigative journalist. Episode 121 for Thursday, September 29th, 2022. Listen, this is another breaking news exclusive story from the Truth and Consequences podcast from my contacts within the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Past couple of months I've been backed up on a lot of stuff. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I want to get to this breaking news over here. Every time I see stories like this, as a former cop, it pisses me off. Remember, though, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department police officer Richard Landahl, and that's spelled Landahl. He's attached to the Spring Valley Area Command out here in Las Vegas. He was charged with open and gross lewdness. Now, according to my sources, this incident occurred, I believe, on September 20th. And the allegation is that he was masturbating in front of a female inside a chiropractor's office. That's the information that I'm getting. Like I said, the incident allegedly occurred on September 20th. This past Tuesday, according to my sources, what I'm being told, Officer Landahl was walked out of the Spring Valley Area Command by detectives from the Criminal Internal Affairs section. Now, the Internal Affairs section, from what I understand, I reported on this previously, they have detectives that work on policy violations, and then they have detectives in the criminal section of IA who work on criminal cases. I was also told by my sources that the Criminal Intelligence Affairs detectives, criminal, not intelligence, it wasn't the intelligence people, the Criminal Internal Affairs detectives investigated this case by themselves. And from what I was told, they did not consult with the sexual affairs detail, which normally they do. Now, Officer Landahl, I was told, was relieved of duty without pay. And the reason why he was relieved of duty without pay is because it's a criminal charge, not a policy violation. So that's what I was told. Now, I was told that his captain, the captain who oversees the Spring Valley Area Command, her name is Michelle Tavares, she would have had to sign the relieved of duty, the suspension paperwork. And that's interesting because my sources tell me Captain Michelle Tavares, who runs the Spring Valley Area Command, was also under investigation, and not for this incident, by the Internal Affairs Division. And I'm going to have that in a separate podcast in the future. So, you hope that these things aren't true, but it was investigated by the detectives. It's very sad when you see this stuff. When, bad enough you see cops all over the country, but it's when a police department from your own place where you live, it's very disturbing. Now, this hasn't made the local Las Vegas media news yet, and a couple of things here that kind of bother me. According to, and I verified this once they got the information through court records. Now, according to Las Vegas Justice Court records, Richard Landahl, Richard James Landahl Jr., was charged with open and gross lewdness, first offense, and that is a gross misdemeanor, according to the Nevada revised statutes. Now, I'm looking at the dates here. On September 28th, they filed a criminal complaint, the detectives investigate the case, with the court. The declaration of warrant affidavit summons was also filed on September 28th. The arrest warrant request, which was yesterday, the 28th, the arrest warrant request was signed yesterday by Judge Joseph Chicento, if I'm pronouncing it right, and it says signing completed. And then on the 29th, which is today, it says request for arrest warrant filed, granted. So they filed the arrest warrant, they got an arrest warrant. It also says probable cause was found for the arrest warrant based on the detective's affidavit. Now here's where it gets interesting. Also today, it says summons ordered in lieu of arrest. And my contacts told me that this is correct. They issued a summons to Officer Landahl, who's on suspension, in lieu of arrest. Now, that's interesting because my sources have told me that, and some stories I covered over the years, other police officers and civilians who are charged with open and gross lewdness, they're arrested and booked into the Clark County Detention Center. And it was not done in this case, so there is no booking photograph of Officer Landahl because he was not booked into the Clark County Detention Center. He was issued a summons. So I got an investigation going on, and I'll update you in the future to find out why some of the cops are saying is because Sheriff Joe Lombardo didn't want the bad press, so they just gave this guy a summons. But that is a little bizarre because they originally applied for the arrest warrant and got the arrest warrant and was signed by the judge. But then today, like I said, a summons ordered in lieu of arrest, and the summons was issued. So they gave him a summons. He wasn't booked into the Clark County Jail now, and that's pretty interesting. Back over here, I said that was the allegation. We talked about Captain Tavares, and I'll have more going on with her in a separate podcast. I want to make sure I covered everything over here. Walked out on the Tuesday, walked out by criminal IA. So if they did this investigation, obviously they investigated in this basis. It says right here, probable cause found. So like I said, why they stopped the arrest warrant and issued a summons, I don't know. But you got to remember, in one of the podcasts I did back in the Rachel Sorkow case, the former police officer, and I did a little video short on this. It's in my YouTube channel. I was told that Sheriff Lombardo halted 2 arrest warrants for 2 male police officers that were involved in the misconduct with her, and you can go back and look at it. So what happened with this, we don't know, but some of my sources are saying that Sheriff Lombardo didn't want the bad press. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Hopefully when the local news picks this up, because as usual, I break these stories, they pick it up and later on. So we have to see what's going on with this case, because it's some questions here that need to be answered. The end of last year and then this year, I broke other stories on Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department police officers involved in various things. And over the past couple of weeks, I've asked my sources, I've got some updated information on those cases. So we're going to talk about that now, and I'm just going to play some stuff on the screen here. I want to put this up. This is the records that I obtained for, it'll be up in the, right here, okay? Those are the records from the court on Officer Landau, and then his salary from the public records. It's on there also. Okay, and you can see that going across the screen there. Okay, let's go back over here. Like I said, last year I broke some stories on some police officers, and then also this year, and I didn't follow up on what the results were of those investigations or those the misconduct, the alleged misconduct that they did. So we're going to do it now. I'm going to play some short video excerpts for some of the podcasts when I broke these stories, but I'll have the full links, the links to the full episodes in the description section like I normally do when I publish the video here on my YouTube channel. So let's go to, we'll start out with Officer Michael Carroll, and it's spelled Carral, because I think there's another guy with a different spelling. It's not him, but this is Michael Carroll, Carral, and this video, when I broke the story, was from November 3rd of 2021, and let's just play a little excerpt here on that. You'll see it up in the right-hand side. From Las Vegas, Nevada, this is episode 69 for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. This one that hasn't made it to the local media yet. Okay, let me keep going here. Do this again. Back in early September, Northwest Area Command Patrol Detective Michael S. Carroll, spelled Carral, apparently went home after his shift and got drunk. Carroll, who was married, didn't stay home. He left and, from what I was told, drove back to the Northwest Area Command, where he then picked up and drove off in an unmarked police vehicle. Carroll then made contact with a female acquaintance and then engaged in sexual activity with her inside the police vehicle. At some point during this physical activity, the radio microphone was accidentally keyed up, which broadcasted some unwanted radio traffic over the air. The communications center heard the unwanted radio traffic and, not sure what was going on, started a radio roll call of the units assigned to the Northwest Area Command for safety reasons. Once the radio microphone was keyed up, the communications center can determine, through data transmitted through the radio, the exact vehicle that the radio is installed in. At some point, I was told they discovered the vehicle was missing from the Northwest Area Command, not logged out to anyone. A long story short, the police finally caught Detective Carroll, I was told, when he drove back to the command to return the vehicle, and then arrested him. On September 3rd, 2021, Michael Sanchez Carroll, 37, was booked into the Clark County Detention Center for driving under the influence. Okay, so there's more to this, and I explain more in the podcast that I did on November 3rd, and the link will be in, I think it was episode 116. According to my sources at police headquarters, Michael Carroll, Carral, was terminated. He was fired. He was terminated from employment. That's what I was told. Now I'm going to go to, I don't know why that light went out, but it's fine. No big deal. Now we're going to go to Officer Richard Chavez, and that was also from, I covered this in November of last year. So, this is episode 69 for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. On Monday, October 25th, Criminal Intelligence Detective Richard Chavez was drunk while driving his unmarked apartment vehicle. Got into an accident and then fled the scene of the accident. He was subsequently arrested and booked into the Clark County Detention Center and then released on his own recognizance. Court records indicate Chavez was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and/or controlled or prohibited substance, first offense. duty to stop at scene of an accident involving damage, and failed to obey red traffic light. Chavez's court date is scheduled for February 22nd. He has been on the force for about 22 years. I was told he's on modified duty with pay. Okay. His case is continued. I think it's coming up next month here in Justice Court. And according to my sources, I think he had about 22 years, like I said, on the department. Detective Chavez retired in lieu of termination. That's what my sources told me. So he retired after 22 years. Just too bad he had to do something stupid like this. But he had 22 years on the department, so it is what it is. The next case we're going to cover here is something I covered also back in November of 2021. I didn't mention the officer's name in the podcast, but you listen to what I'm saying. But my sources have identified that person as downtown area command at the time, police officer Ernest Hawkins. And I'll tell you what happened to him in a few minutes. Let's play this clip here. This is episode 69 for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. According to sources, another Internal Affairs Bureau investigation involves a police officer assigned to the downtown area command. From what I was told, his wife... Okay, let me get this back going again here. Affairs, after she discovered he was engaged in a sexual relationship with her 16-year-old sister. I was told he has been on administrative leave for over a month. He has about 2 years on the department. Under Nevada law, 16 is the age of consent. Okay, again, listen to the full podcast, but this is the gist of it. His wife called up Internal Affairs last year and made a complaint on him, just like you heard. The allegation was he was having relations with his sister-in-law, 16 years old. And according to the sources who told to me, Ernest Hawkins resigned from the police force. The next one we're going to go to is this is in February of this year, and this involves Officer Curtis Paul, P-A-U-L, and we'll play the video clip here. I'll just let it run full screen. I don't know why it's not coming up on the corner box, but let's play this here. Welcome to episode 89 for Sunday, February 6th, 2022. This is another exclusive investigative news story. According to police sources, a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Southeast Area Command Swing Shift Patrol Officer has been relieved of duty and is under an internal affairs investigation for allegedly having sexual encounters with a female domestic violence victim. Sources said in the last week of January, Metro Police Officer Curtis Paul, who has a pregnant fiancée at home, had responded to Sunrise Hospital to handle a domestic violence complaint. I was told that Paul then drove the female victim to the Motel 6 on Boulder Highway. Sources said after Paul ended his shift, he went back to Motel 6 in his private vehicle and met with the female victim. Later that day, sources said, Officer Curtis Paul, while on duty, in uniform, and driving his police vehicle, returned to the Motel 6 and met with the female victim again. Okay, there's a lot more to this, so I'll put just doing this, it's because I want to do the excerpt to make this podcast short, so you don't have to look at the whole thing, but I'll put the links to all these that we talked about on the screen here, episodes, and you could look at the whole thing if you want. Now, get me off the screen here, up over there. Okay, according to sources, now this is was a couple of weeks ago, so it may have been done, but I'll find out and update it. But Officer Curtis Paul, from what I understand, is headed to a pre-termination board, and that's the disciplinary process with Metro. So I heard he's going to a pre-termination board. When I get updates on this, I will update you. The next Also from February, I broke this story, and I don't even think the media covered this, but who cares what the media does out here. This is then Officer Rayanne Armstrong, and let's play this clip. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 116 of the Truth and Consequences podcast from Las Vegas, Thursday, May 5th, 2022. According to police sources, 2 Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department police officers, Rayanne Armstrong, are under Internal Affairs Bureau investigation. This is a photograph of Officer Rayanne Armstrong. I was told that last month, April, Officer Armstrong responded to a disturbance call at a bar in the Northwest Area Command. According to police sources, there was a motorcycle club inside the establishment, and it was later determined from Officer Armstrong's body camera video footage that Armstrong's actions were contrary to what a police officer investigating the complaint should have done. I was told, I don't have my notes here in front of me on that, but I was told that on our body cam footage, it appears she may have been aiding and abetting somehow this motorcycle group that was in there, either to assist them to get out or something like that. That's basically what I was told. Police sources stated that one of Armstrong's family members, who was not present at the bar, has an association with the motorcycle club that was in this bar, and that Officer Armstrong's actions may have been influenced by that. Okay, so that was Officer Rayanne Armstrong that I talked about. That was from February, and according to my sources, Officer Armstrong resigned from the police department, so she's no longer a police officer. I got a lot more stuff coming out. I was backed up on a lot of stuff, a lot of other things that hasn't hit the media out here as usual, or it hits the media and they know about it, they don't want to report on it, as some of my sources say. But, I'm not concerned with the local Las Vegas media, concerned with my podcast and the information I get from police sources for years. And I publish it when I was writing for the Baltimore Post-Examiner, publish those stories, and now on my podcast, because this is my forum for my independent investigative journalism. So it's about 20 minutes, and my air conditioning's not on. I've got to turn on, so I'm sweating like a bullet over here. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, support my work if you can. Like I said, I don't have an income from what I do. You can support me at paypal.me/Doug Poppa. Like I say, I work independent. I don't take orders from anybody, and I get this information and I put it out. I was also told by police officers, and I'll have a story, the Las Vegas Review-Journal interviewed Sheriff Joe Lombardo a couple of weeks ago about something, and the cops told me that he lied his ass off, which is what he usually does. He's a documented liar. He's corrupt and he's incompetent, and this guy's running for governor. You want to vote for him, vote for him. I'm not voting for him. But anyway, I'll have my story, my podcast on that. And I promised a couple of months ago that October 1st, the 5-year anniversary is coming up Saturday. I've been posting a lot of the stories that I did for the Baltimore Post-Examiner on my social media. It's on my Truth and Consequences Facebook page. It's on LinkedIn. It's on Twitter. Because I wrote almost 165 stories that were published by the Baltimore Post-Examiner at the time, just on the Las Vegas Massacre. And I think there's like 350 total stories I wrote since I started writing for them in 2015, when I was writing for them. We broke one story after another. We were the ones who were the forefront of breaking the story on the backstory of what was going on. And, we broke the story. We're the first ones to report on Hendricks. We're the first one to report on Cordell Hendricks being fired. There's a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to have this, and I'm going to do a podcast, I think, on Saturday about some of these stories because people are asking me, you did all these stories, you were like one story after another, and can you just go back and rehash some stuff? And we did. And the reason for that is I had police contacts, and I also had contacts within MGM Resorts International. So that was the basis for the stories that I was writing. And you have these contacts, you write these stories, and you get it out to the public. And, when people read my stories, even back then, they say, some of your stories read like a police report. Why do you write like that? Because a lot of reporters, they do what they want to do, okay? I took 2 years of journalism in high school, and when I was college part-time, I was a cop. It was criminal justice and police science, but, I got 40 years investigative experience. So the minute I get information, I write it, my story at the time, just like now I do on the podcast. I'm not writing, I'm talking, and I get it out to the public. And if it needs to be updated or amended later on when new information comes out, then that's what I do. So that's the way I did criminal investigations when I was an investigator. You write investigative reports with the information based on your investigation, and if something comes, that changes or needs to be updated, then you do that. And I did that constantly in the Baltimore Post-Examiner. We updated stories, especially when we got more information. So, I'm going to have, I think I'm going to do a podcast maybe Saturday if I feel like it. It's a 5-year anniversary, but a lot of the stories that I did, I'm posting a lot of stuff on because people are asking me, can you post some of these stories because they're hard to find? If you want to look at my archives of the Baltimore Post-Examiner, and I'll put a link in the podcast when I'm done, just Google Doug Poppa, Baltimore Post-Examiner, and you'll get a link to the archives of all my stories, specifically me. It says Doug Poppa Archives, and you can go back and look at every story that I wrote for them. I think it's like a little over 350. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this podcast. I got a lot of stuff I'm working on with Metro and some other stuff. And, I appreciate the comments that I get on the work that I do because, when you do this type of, somebody said to me the other day from back east, you're the hardest working, non-paid journalist, sometimes, in Vegas or, in the country, because I do these stories, and the national attention was the Baltimore Post-Examiner. It was a reader-supported paper, so I didn't make a whole lot of money doing stories for them. But it's about getting the stories, the information out. And, somebody said you were filling the void for what the mainstream media wasn't doing, and that is correct. So when I read these stories, like we covered all these incidences with these former police officers and Officer Landau and stuff, which he's innocent until proven guilty, but it's disturbing. Police work is an honorable profession. I spent almost 18 years in law enforcement with different agencies, but it's only as honorable as the person who wears the badge. And when you don't have the integrity or the morals or the code of conduct that you should have as a law enforcement officer, and I'm just making a broad statement here, you end up getting yourself into trouble and you lose a good job. Because regardless of what you hear with a lot of these different police organizations, police work is a pretty safe profession. It's not even on the top 10 of dangerous jobs in the United States. You can go and research it. It's most cops, never fire their weapon. Most cops go to work, come home. They don't get hurt. They don't get killed. Some cops do. But it's part of the job. If nobody wants to see a cop get killed, nobody wants to see a fireman get killed. Nobody wants to see an electrical worker get killed on a pole. Go to work, you should be able to come home at night. But this is what you accept when you get into law enforcement. You accept the possibility that when you leave the house in the morning or at night, whatever your shift is, that you may not come home. You do your best, to make sure that doesn't happen, but you want to come home. But, since the first guy pinned on a star in this country, 100, 200 years ago, law enforcement officers get killed, unfortunately, and they get hurt, some of them seriously hurt. But you accept that risk when you put on the badge, okay? And it's a pretty safe profession. And all this talk that's out there right now, cops are leaving because they're not loved by the public, and, we want to be loved, and people hate us. Listen, people, that's nothing new. 40 years ago when I was a cop, 35 years ago, it was the same thing, You think I left the house in the morning and said, I don't want to do my job because the public doesn't like me, and most of the public do like cops. But there's some people out there that don't. Of course, the criminals don't. But that wouldn't even come across my mind. Who cares? I'm doing the job, when I was doing it, the job that I liked and loved to do, okay? I could care less whether people liked me or not. I treated everybody with respect up until the time when they don't deserve the respect. And then you got to do what you have to do to enforce the law. That's just the way it is. So, you know, all you police officers and law enforcement officers out there, there's 900,000 law enforcement officers, state, local, and federal in this country. Do your job honorably, and you have nothing to worry about, okay? A lot of this stuff is just blown out of proportion that's going on all over the country. Anyway, appreciate your support and continued support, and we'll have more. I got more stories coming out on Metro that you're not going to hear in the mainstream media out here in Las Vegas for one reason or another. Appreciate it, and stay tuned for more.